All right, Jim, our next question sent via the Cult of Cornette Facebook group was sent in by Cody Cantrell.
Now, wait a minute. Did Ken and Lisa have a spawn?
Well, I don't know about that, but I think this is a very interesting question. Jim, do you think the Marine that beat up Shawn Michaels is aware of his place in wrestling history? That's never been asked before. That's very interesting. Does the Marine who beat up Shawn Michaels know who he beat up?
Well, he knows who he beat up because there were police reports and, activity about it. And part of the bone of contention was that, well, there's these fucking wrestlers coming into this goddamn local bar from out of town, these big shots, and this fucking little weasel with the long hair said whatever about my girlfriend or the girl working there or whatever the original conflict started over. So he knows he beat up a big-time WWF guy. But now the question is, and this is a good one, has he kept up with it in the almost 30 years afterwards that people are still talking about it and talking about him and debating it? Because some people still think it was 9 Marines. No, it was 1 Marine with a bunch of friends standing back and watched him because Michaels was fucking soused anyway and couldn't defend himself to begin with and would have got shit kicked out of him by this Marine if he was stone cold sober to begin with. And as I've mentioned, Davey Boy couldn't help because he was in the back seat of a 2-door car and he was trapped because Davey was in no condition to drive and Michaels was in the passenger seat in the front. And who was it? Waltman?
I believe so. I believe so.
So here's how bad a shape they were in. Poor Shawn Waltman was a designated driver. And Davey couldn't get out of the back seat, leaning the seat up and trying to get out of the door when they pulled Michaels out and kicked shit out of him. So, that, yes, it was the 1 Marine. He did know that he beat up Shawn Michaels and that Shawn Michaels was a WWF guy. But as to whether he's kept up afterwards to where it's still a subject of conversation and people still talk about him and he's been lauded like that on all these documentaries or whatever, that's a good question. One of these investigative types, there was police reports that his name is out there on record. They ought to track him down and say, hey, on pay-per-view for charity, you want a rematch. What do you think?
You think when he gets together at the reunion, he's like, yeah, I did that to his eye. It was me.
No, he's a Marine. I'm sure he'd be an upstanding fellow who wouldn't lie, and everybody knows Michaels was cross-eyed beforehand.
Was he?
He was starting to be. It was leaning in that direction.
See, I never noticed it until it was just like, bam, there it is.
It was leaning that way.
Huh.
It was starting to drift.